welcome to Contacto, brought to you by the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO. On behalf of our Chamber staff and board, we'd like to thank you for joining us for our third annual Women's Conference, brought to you by TDECU, Mass Mutual, and Shell. We expect over 500 entrepreneurs, women, and others today. So thanks for being with us. Welcome back to our Women's Conference, and for the third year in a row, TDECU is one of our underwriters. We're so happy to have them here with us, and to tell you a little bit more is Lucilla from TDECU. Thank you for being here.
Oh, we're so excited to be here once again. This is a conference that we look forward to sponsoring every year, and it means a lot to our employees, it means a lot to TDECU, and I know it means a lot to the community.
It does. And so on behalf of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we want to thank TDECU for joining us today. Stay tuned. Joining us today is Mass Mutual. They joined us from the very beginning. It's our third year with Mass Mutual, serving as an underwriter of today's Women's Conference. Joining us is J.K. McAndrews. J.K., thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here. This is an event we look forward to and enjoy supporting every year.
Well, and important to note that Mass Mutual has some outstanding employees, but some of your top employees, let's face it, are the women.
That's absolutely true. In fact, last year our 5 top advisors were women. 7 of our top 10 were women, and we're happy to say, I think currently 46% of our team are women.
Wonderful. And so on behalf of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we want to thank Mass Mutual for joining us today. Thanks, JK.
Thank you.
The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading regional advocate for the economic, civic, and business interests of the Hispanic community. We are a convener of people, ideas, business opportunities, and so much more. We represent over 90,000 Hispanic-owned businesses in the region that generate billions of dollars annually. Through our yearly initiatives like our standard-setting annual luncheon, data-driven Hispanic Houston Impact Summit, and Trailblazing Women's Conference, we bring together diverse audience through a range of industry verticals. We are leaders in business via our programs and initiatives. We continue to invest in the future of Houston via our Emerging Leaders Institute, and most recently with our Business Institute for Entrepreneurs. We are advocates at the local, state, and national level regarding public policy, including tax reform, trade, energy, comprehensive immigration reform, healthcare, and business. This year, we led an extensive voting campaign via our media platforms and with our media partners. We continue to represent Houston on the international stage, including our participation in Mayor Sylvester Turner's recent trade delegation to Cuba. We also significantly increased our media outreach efforts, published several op-ed pieces, and participated in numerous press conferences. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce was also recognized as the Marketer of the Year in the Economic Development category by the American Marketing Association for our rebranding and marketing efforts in 2016. Our visual identity is our commitment to the future of your chamber and Hispanic Houston as we enter a new phase of growth and impact. As the leader of Houston's new majority, the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is a forward-looking champion for both the city of Houston and the Hispanic community. Certainly, your family has played a very integral part in some of your decisions, especially this last one.
Absolutely. I was again at JP Morgan Chase, and was really at the point in my career where the next biggest job for me, the kinds of roles that I was attracted to in terms of responsibility, I either needed to be in New York or I needed to be on an airplane all the time, and neither of those were very appealing to me because I do like my family. I like to see them. And, I spent a lot of time thinking about this because I'm also very driven. So the thought of having, this big high-powered job where I fly all over the world, there's something appealing about that. Except I know in my heart of hearts when I'm on that airplane, like, it hurts. I want to be somewhere else I want to be at a ball game or doing homework. So, you know, I ultimately decided that what I wanted to achieve personally and professionally just wasn't going to happen in the context of JP Morgan Chase at this time. And that's nothing against the organization. It's just a personal decision I made and could feel really good about.
Talk a little bit about transitioning and some of the advice that you might give as someone who's in the search firm world, recruiting the highest talent and caliber from your personal experience.
So I have the pleasure of serving in a very large public company that recruits the best and the brightest in the country, and some of whom are in this room, as a matter of fact. Juanita Romans, who I used to actually work with at Memorial Hermann. I'm probably headed to where Gina is now. But in the meantime, it's a very exciting business to meet people like we have in this room today. And it isn't without its trials and tribulations, for sure.
And there often is a price to be paid for those very high-profile, highly coveted, you would agree. I mean, these are highly sought-after positions, but it comes with a price.
I think so. I think what I tell people, and this is probably not a popular thing to tell people, but your family will be okay. Your job will be okay. It just might be you that is not okay in the end. You know, there'll be some health situation or something.
It's a good point.
So there's a price to pay, and it's a choice, and you make it. And I work with a lot of very young people now that I'm trying to develop into being revenue producers for this company, and they seem to have a little bit different mindset than I do, which I welcome. I think it's probably healthier. But back in the day when we all read those business books about work-life balance, personally, I don't believe in it. I don't think it exists. I think you can strive for it, and if you're a little bit more balanced than me, good for you.
I always say you can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time.
The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading regional advocate for the economic and civic interests of the Hispanic business community. We seek to empower our members through a diverse range of programs and initiatives. The Chamber provides the business community with resources needed to build economic success. For more information, please visit our website at www.houstonhispanicchamber.com. But we must be resilient, and clearly this plays a role in as how successful we become, and our confidence plays into it. So tell us about resiliency.
Resilience is absolutely critical. As you said, resilience determines your success at work and in life. It doesn't matter your education, your experience, whether you're a mom, a CEO, you're in the cancer ward. Resilience at the end of the day will determine your capacity to be able to rise up above circumstances. And look, as women, we all have our resilience
But
stories.
sometimes we're tired. We don't want to have to fight for everything and wait for everything to take so long. How do we keep going when it just seems that we're trying and we're trying, but that bar isn't moving at all?
Well, the truth is the bar is moving all the time. Sometimes we just can't see it.
Okay, so
wouldn't that be true?
You can't see it, so okay. Well, we want to see it.
So what about this? Consider that resilience isn't just a personality trait, but resilience is a proactive cultivation of a mindset, a skill set, and a tool set. There are rituals and practices and habits that we can employ every day to build muscle, and that muscle is what gives us the grit, the tenacity, the perseverance that no matter what the situation looks like, we can continue to generate that level of energy. And I would say this, when you're velcroed to your purpose, when you're absolutely passionate about what you do, and you're crystal clear about why what you do is absolutely important in the world, nothing will stop you.
And Sophie, I want to close with you. To the young women in this audience, clearly you've had a strong mother who I've met before, and you've surrounded yourself with some tremendous female leaders. What do you have to say, especially to the young people in this room?
Well, I think that my best advice would be to be very brave, because I started this off, as I said, when I was 11. And so you're right, I did surround myself with extraordinary women who were able to take me to events and galas and things like that, where I was able to network with people. But it was my responsibility to share my mission and what my organization did to receive support. And so I think that something that was really important for me was to just, suck it up and then go to somebody, because just imagine a 14-year-old girl going up to a 60, 70-year-old CEO and trying to explain to him what my mission is, right? And so a lot of times the big fear is I won't be taken seriously, right? So not only was I a woman, but I was a kid. So I think what one really needs to do is go up, be brave, remember that their mission is important, and just try to get as much people to support you as possible. Create the biggest network possible.
So don't be afraid. Be brave. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading regional advocate for the economic and civic interests of the Hispanic business community. We seek to empower our members through a diverse range of programs and initiatives. The Chamber provides the business community with resources needed to build economic success. For more information, please visit our website at www.houstonhispanicchamber.com.
There was no PhD in engineering available in my country, in Colombia. And when I got ready to do my PhD, all my friends and everyone that I knew in my work, I was working for a very big corporation. They were like, you shouldn't do it. I mean, you're not going to make any more money. You're going to be overqualified for 99% of the jobs that exist. And you're going to lose the money, you're going to lose the time. It's going to be not very good for you. Look at so-and-so, he has a PhD and doesn't make more money than me. So I went to my mom and I said, maybe what I really wanted to do when I was growing up doesn't apply anymore. And she said, how many of the people that told you not to do a PhD had a PhD? And that's why I got a PhD.
There are very few women in these high-powered media positions, and it is not easy. You're responsible for revenue, you're responsible for how many people are listening, what things look like, and now you throw in this whole digital mix into that. So just know that these two women that are at the end of these sofas here are really carrying some really, really big torches in terms of what we hear and what we see. And so for Sarah, I want you to talk a little bit about what happens if you don't create your personal brand and what you've done to help create your own brand. So take it from there.
Okay. Well, thank you. That is the nicest compliment I could get, because she is such an inspiration to so many of us. So thank you very much for that. If you don't create your own brand, then it's going to be created for you. And it is as simple as that. Because whether you know it or not, everything you're doing is creating a brand. Whatever you posted this morning on any sort of social media, either helped create the brand you're trying to create, or it's creating a brand that you may or may not want to be part of your brand. And we are all brands, and people say to me often, I don't want to be in sales. You're in sales. You are selling you every single morning when you get up. So don't think that you're not, because you are. You are the product. So I think it's important to figure out what product you are and what you want to be. And I think that really, for me, the way I see that is what you're really passionate about, what your superpower is, because we all have a superpower, what your core values are, and then what you think your life's purpose is.
Talking about your brand, remember most importantly to be authentic. Just be your true self. Don't try to be someone you're not, because that comes across. So even if you idolize someone, you're like, oh, I want to be like them. If that's not who you really are, people that follow you, they're going to know that's just not who you are. So be your true authentic self. I would like to say that.
And you meet a lot of people who really have taken advantage of social media to build their brand. But I would think that you also work with some traditionalists that have avoided it altogether, and they have a long legacy of just having been in the community, doing fantastic things. Right. And it's not prevented them from having the stature and that presence in this city. Right. So let's talk about those two distinctions.
Someone explained to me this, and they said, this puts us in the conversation, whereas before we were looking from the outside, writing about it, and kind of almost voyeuristic. So now we're part of the conversation and actually stimulating the conversation. And so when I had that kind of idea and thought about it that way, I had a different approach about social media. It didn't become a drudgery. And sometimes it is very overwhelming, but I think in this day and age, when I run into people, particularly, I write about all different types of topics, but mostly fashion, fitness, lifestyle. I do style profiles, like on Dr. Murillo. And I run into people who are not on social media, and I ask them why. And some of them will say that they just, they want to keep their anonymity. And I get that. But if you have a business, if you have something that you want to share with the world, you kind of have to be. You have to find some type of way to do it, and to do it that moves your brand or your business forward.
Well, welcome back to our Women's Conference. Joining us today from Katie Furniture is our new sponsor here at the Chamber. They've provided us with some fantastic furniture, and they're opening up a new location very soon. So let's hear from Katie Furniture and Shamira, and she's going to tell a little bit more about what's going on with their store.
Thank you so much, Dr. Murray. We're so excited to be here and be a part of the Chamber. And we do have a new location that's coming up hopefully at the end of the year out in Richmond. So we look forward to working and partnering up with you guys.
Well, thank you. And again, our special thanks to Katie Furniture for joining us here today at the 3rd Annual Women's Conference. We'll be right back.
We need every single person to be working at their best, and if companies need to compete, we need to make sure all women contribute. I have 3 career skills that I've learned in my time with Shell. I've been with Shell 25 years as a mechanical engineer, now a general manager of engineering. The 3 career skills are 1, focus, 2, relentless prioritization, and 3, thoughtful and purposeful action. So let me talk to focus real quick. From a focus perspective, my key learning is no matter what job you've been given, no matter where you work, the most important thing to do is to focus in on the task at hand and deliver the work, not just the business results, but deliver it in an excellent fashion. 2, set priorities and be very relentless about what your top priorities are, and be very clear and communicate where those priorities have come from and why they are your top priorities. And 3, take very thoughtful and purposeful action. As a woman, we all want to do everything. So take your time, think through your priorities, select what your top priorities are, and take very thoughtful and purposeful action, and communicate, communicate, communicate.
The advice that you may have in terms of understanding that to move up the corporate ladder in this world of math, engineering, and science, that is going to be something that you are likely to face at some point in your career, and how you have been able to handle it coming from a very traditional background.
As far as being an engineer with the Boeing company and working for NASA's International Space Station program, having that information, becoming an emerging leader, I think it has provided me with so many different skills to enhance, and also trying to talk to my different leadership, my different management with a Boeing company. They're always supporting women, and they always pass the ball. They always see how proactive you are, and they try to invest that into pushing you further into different roles.
So how have you handled the coming from a family that, again, has helped and supported you into this world of professionalism with emerging leaders and moving up that corporate ladder where sometimes you didn't know who to go to, but clearly you did because you surrounded yourself with people who could help. But talk to the people who are out there in these corporations and needing to find people to help you navigate what is sometimes unfamiliar, especially for younger women in this audience.
Having come where I come from, it has always been my mission to ask for help. And always one of the things that I have gathered, if I go back early in my career when entering with Boeing, was always sitting at the table. And that is one of the aspects that a lot of people do not really see. And you know, during my first weeks at Boeing, I sat at the table because there was an anomaly on orbit, and I really wanted to take...
There was an anomaly on orbit, you guys.
So one of the main missions is to keep the astronauts safe, and that's one of the key missions for me. And since there was an anomaly on orbit, I said, you know, I'm going to sit at the table and take matters on my hand. And I just continued doing that, and I didn't know people were not noticing that. And so during my performance review later on with my manager, he was like, you were sitting at the table 2 weeks after starting. And I'm like, yeah, I wanted to take matters up, my hand, and I wanted to work and be proactive about this. And he said, well, I noticed that, and a lot of people did. And really, if I have a leadership position later on, I will be thinking about you.
And let's talk about the work-life balance in your career and the many decisions that you've had to make to get that promotion, to continue moving up that career ladder that have impacted you, that would be helpful for this audience.
I think Gina this morning took my tagline, which is, you can have it all, you just can't have it all at the same time. So having twins and having older parents and trying to navigate caregiving on both ends of the spectrum, I've had to make some choices along the way, right? And as you get higher and higher in certain roles at Shell, you can guarantee you're going to have to travel, and generally you're going to have to do that internationally. And fortunately for me, I'm blessed with a fantastic husband who helps a lot at the house and around the house. But you do have to make some choices on certain jobs that put you away from home for long periods of time. Sometimes you just have to say no. And I think for companies like Shell and other oil and gas companies and IT companies, that's become okay to do that in order to manage your career and your work life at the same time.
So I would imagine that often in your space, you are probably one of the youngest at the table, correct? What advice do you have for aspiring young women in this audience? So much of it is confidence. So much of it is lack of confidence. What can you say to them to help encourage them to be confident and to be at the table?
The first thing that I would say is always speak up. You're at a certain role because you are actually, you need to own that responsibility that is given to you. Show all the engineers out there, show all the people in the STEM field that you're working for that you are technically capable of solving on-orbit issues. And in addition to that, solving and also presenting to people, and whenever you bring that up, people actually trust you more. And that is essential for you to move forward in your career. And management, again, I cannot stress enough the importance of all the men that are here in the room, how you can all become advocates of pushing forward, women and giving them that leadership role. I had a scenario where my lead and I worked very seriously on this project, and he could have had that opportunity of presenting to one of the highest levels of the International Space Station Board. But he said, no, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. And he just, I presented to the highest levels of the board for the International Space Station, and that is something that I would hope to see more men do.
How do we make sure that the women that are pursuing these careers, are in these careers, don't give up?
So I think that we really need to be taking care of each other as women in the workplace as well. So definitely mentoring, making sure that you're connected to folks. You also want to, when you're talking about giving up, and if someone has ideas, it's also your approach. So really understand where you're working and the ways of working, because every company has its own culture. And once you understand that and tap into that, so like at Shell, a lot of times we have the meeting before the meeting. And so you get everyone aligned.
That's where
decisions
it all
are made.
happens, folks.
Right. It all happens. It's at the water cooler, right?
That's
So that's
right.
where it all happens, or a virtual water cooler. So, so before an actual true decision-making meeting happens, typically the decision has been made and things have been agreed. And so if you don't understand that coming into a place like Shell, you're going to go to the table and become very frustrated because everyone's already on a different page than you might be. So definitely the ways of working and connect with people and networking is key.
Absolutely. That's why, once again, we want to thank Shell for identifying these exceptional individuals. And Lori, also thank you for being with us today. And the many women of Shell, I want them to stand up because they're doing phenomenal work. I see our friend Deborah Stewart. You guys stand up. All the women of Shell, please stand. On behalf of our board of directors and staff, we'd like to thank you for joining us at our 3rd annual Women's Conference, brought to you by Shell, TDECU, and Mass Mutual. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks again for joining us.